First, obviously, as you are very well aware, in 3 weeks' time, Australians go to the ballot box for what most people are insisting is one of the most consequential elections we've had in years. The economy is an absolute disaster. National security is a shambles. Immigration is out of control. Power bills are unaffordable. And what do you think everybody's talking about? Whether or not Senator Jacinta Nampijinpa Price should have said, "Make Australia great again." Those 4 words have dominated the political debate in the last 24 hours. The senator uttered those fateful 4 words during a press conference over the weekend with Peter Dutton. Here's a reminder of what happened.
I'm so proud to be able to stand beside and to ensure that we can make Australia great again, that we can bring Australia back to its former glory, that we can get Australia back on track.
Well, the media and the government immediately seized on her use of that phrase and accused Senator Price of channeling Donald Trump. Now, I found it kind of amusing that that's where we've gotten to, and you would have thought that would be the end of it. Jacinta Price said she didn't realise she'd made the comment, and that may well have been the case. Nationals leader David Littleproud said it was an inadvertent slip of the tongue, but then, thanks to some brilliant investigative journalism, a damning photograph turned up of Senator Price and her husband Colin wearing Make America Great Again hats for Christmas.
No.
And this is proof, as if we needed it, that Jacinta Price and the entire Liberal Party are channeling the evil Donald Trump. There's a couple of things about this, Caleb and Danica, that really annoy me. First, this illustrates the inanity of the political discourse in this country. We're headed for a national debt of $1 trillion, but that's not the problem. The problem is that Jacinta Price used a phrase borrowed from the evil Donald Trump. Second, it demonstrates the low opinion our political leaders have of the Australian public, as if we really believe that if someone says "Make Australia Great Again," that's proof positive that we're going to end up a clone of America, probably the 51st state or the 52nd state if Trump nukes Canada. It also demonstrates what a threat Jacinta Price is to the left.
Yes.
She's clearly the most articulate of the coalition MPs. When she speaks, people listen, people trust her. And so rather than take issue with any of her policy portfolios, they've taken issue with 4 words that she said in order to smear her as a Donald Trump clone and therefore write off and dismiss everything that she stands for. But just on that point, the thing that annoys me is that the Liberal Party didn't seem to own this. I mean, what's wrong with making Australia great again? And what's wrong with borrowing a couple of policies, if that indeed is what they're doing, and I suspect they are with Jacinta Price's Doge-like policy responsibility, where she's responsible for cutting government waste. But, I mean, so what if she's channeling a little bit of the best of Donald Trump? Anthony Albanese once channeled, was it Michael Douglas?
Yeah, correct.
When he ripped off an entire speech from the American president.
Copy and
so at least
paste.
Jacinta Price, if she is channeling Trump, she's channeling a real person, unlike Albanese, who channeled a fictional character.
Yeah, my problem with this, firstly, with that photo that was dug up, it was actually dug up by our friends over at The Guardian, nonetheless. They've done some excellent journalism. They found that photo and they went to town with it. Look, oh, big, scary, there she is. Jacinta Price and her husband making America great again. Controversial. Oh, for goodness sake. Who cares if they're wearing MAGA hats? I don't care. It's not going to affect, it's not going to change anything. It's not going to change any discourse. Who really cares? And God forbid that we actually want to make Australia great again. What do you think? Let's paint the picture of our country right now. Cost of living crisis, housing crisis. We've got terrorist flags being waved so brazenly in the streets, protests week in, week out. People have been brought into this country, some who hate us, some who do not want to assimilate in this country. So, yeah, it's not the country that many of us know and love. Many of us grew up in a country that we don't even recognise anymore. So, God forbid, we actually do want to make Australia great again. I am very disappointed that the Liberal Party have not owned this. In fact, they have not been rolling Jacinta Price out from the very beginning. They should have. They have kept her on the back burner. She only really joined the campaign, when you think about it, in the last week. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's only been in the last week. She is the secret weapon. Australians love her. They took to her, obviously, during this Voice campaign. And my question now is, have they kept her hidden because she's become the face of Doge? And that's their worry now, that they're so being painted like Donald Trump and Donald Trump's policies that they've gone, we better keep her to the side.
And this is the worrying thing about all of this. I mean, look, from a strategic point of view, the fallout from this was probably predictable. And so from that point of view, to open your mouth and say, make Australia great again, was probably dumb to some degree, because you could have seen this coming a mile off. We knew it was going to happen. They're seizing on polling we've seen recently showing that Donald Trump is quite unpopular in Australia. And we know, of course, that Albanese has benefited from the tariffs that Trump has slapped on us. 10%, the lowest that was given to anyone. So it wasn't that big of a deal, but Albanese has benefited from it. But what it proves to me is that this campaign is so bereft of any vision anywhere. Two things. You've got a centre-right politician, mainstream right politician, saying similar things to a mainstream right politician in another part of the world. So what's the big deal? Like, you know, people carry on in Australia like Donald Trump is some sort of bogeyman and, oh, I can't believe those stupid Americans who voted for him. The majority of American electors voted for him. He is a mainstream centre-right politician. He's not some strange far-right, alt-right sort of bloke like they try to make out he is. But the reason they're so upset that she would try to use the language of a man who actually has vision and an idea for what he wants his country to look like, and that, of course, is Donald Trump in the US, is that no one in this election actually seems to have any serious vision. And the coalition's just as guilty of that as the Labor Party. Everyone is talking about what's happened for the last 3 years and maybe what will happen tomorrow, as opposed to how this country will look in 10 years' time. And so when you use the phrase, make Australia great again, you're talking about the future. Yep. And somehow that seems to be a crime in politics these days, to actually talk about how you want to improve your country. And that means talking about big picture, long-term things like reforming government spending, like reforming immigration, etc. All the stuff that people don't seem to want to touch because they just want to limp through an election with lots of money and promises that get them over the line so they can plant their bums on the leather seats in Parliament again for another 3 years. Well, I'm sick of it,
Well,
frankly.
It's actually feeding into the left's narrative. The left love, it's their modus operandi to create this fear. And we actually saw it in the US, in the lead up to the US election. You remember, it was the Democrats, it was the lefty media over there, the liberal media. They really pushed this fear that Donald Trump is going to take over America and he's going to be big and evil and all these bad things are happening. And you can see exactly what is happening here in Australia now. It's the same narrative, but they're painting the Liberals as the big, bad, scary beast.
Well, that's the irony, right? So the Democrats in the US, Trump is Hitler.
Yes.
The Labor Party in Australia, Dutton is Trump.
Yep.
So they're stealing from the Democrats' playbook and then accusing the Liberal Party of aping the Republicans.
It's pathetic, isn't it? And this is what happens when you're up with all these people who keep getting churned out of universities and they've had all this lefty stuff implanted in their brains, and the Greens know what's good for them. They want more of these people, of course.